All right, here's your cold open, guys. There is an announcement we have to make, a monumental one, so probably game-changing for the remainder of the time that we are doing that Old World Charm, this podcast. It is going to be a big freaking deal, and I can only think that's going to make our content better and better every time.
Yep.
We've synced up. We've synced up, guys.
We've
fully
synced up.
In sync. I want it that way, as I didn't sync. I don't know. It's a boy band. But for the first time ever, I am truly in sync with my cohorts. What do I mean by that, gents?
We all used the bathroom at the same time.
Yep,
we did.
It happened
Directly prior to starting episode 1. We all took a crap,
and we all had to. Like, it wasn't like we were forcing it.
No,
we really needed to go.
Of our own.
I wasn't doing it just to impress Adam.
I wasn't doing it just to have an excuse for why I was going to be a few minutes late. It was 100%
definitely not
what was going on.
I can only imagine what that's going to bring to our content over the next couple, hopefully years. It's just strength to bowel movement to strength. It's
our poop per minute is out of control.
Can I tell you guys something? I just found something in the Forces of Fantasy book that's going to ruin the old world for everyone.
Is that the dwarf army list?
No. If you go and you look at Kingdom of Britonia army list, there are 2 spaces between Kingdom and of, and only 1 space between of and Britonia.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's ruined.
Who formatted this book?
Throw it out.
Oh,
get rid of it.
Who did this?
That's just, it's ruined.
It's not just there.
Oh, it's in other places.
In the Armies of Infamy, or the Arcane Journal.
Oh my God. That's how they write it.
Yeah, dude.
Throw up on myself.
Oh God.
Oh no.
I'm just going to vomit straight up into the air.
Bretonian players in ruins. All of them have just...
Peter, it's Kingdom, space base of Space Bretonia. Errantry, space, Crusade.
Why is this a choice? Why is this the choice they made?
Absolutely wrecked. Anyway, put an intro in here, Dickie. Let's start the show.
I've got a new box under my arm with Tomb Kings and Men of Britonia. So let's set the tone, listening to the one and only. We've got to that old world charm.
We are back for episode. I think this is episode 5. I think I was calling it episode 4.
You called it episode 4, but you have on and off skipped that we did an intro episode for 6 years now. So
yeah, I have. It's been a long time.
However long we've done the show.
It's the mystery episode.
The fabled episode 2. So yeah, this is episode 5. And we're going to be answering your questions off the cuff. Then we're going to give Diffie some time. He's had a dinner right now. He hasn't made it home to jump on and help.
He has to eat.
Dickie.
Oh, both. Diffie and Dickie. We should have Diffie on the show sometime, and we'll make him a list too. It's not like he's too busy.
Yeah, If we need to make him a list. He's not going to make one himself. We all know that. But anyway, we're going to answer your questions first. That's our modus operandi on these part 2s. We're going to give Dickie some time. That if he finishes his dinner, makes it home, he can help us write his list. Otherwise, he's just getting what he gets.
He gets what he gets. Like
that be a pile of shit.
What was that? Like, who sang that song? You get what you give. The Rascal Flats, the Rascals,
Oh, the Rascals. Yeah.
It was one of them bands. Guys, get in the comments. Who sang that song?
Yeah.
It was very popular.
Jid Kraken or Trev has asked first up. Can you do a bit of a dive into the redirect? The units that do it well and challenges to doing it, like skirmishes aligning to the charger, and with undead who are unstable and can't flee as a charge reaction. So I just want to do a little bit of a breakdown on how to redirect, why to redirect, and how do you execute it, what kind of units you want for it. So Danny, define a redirect. What is it in the context of this game, and why do you do it?
Sure. So a redirect is where you hold with a unit in order to make your opponent either not hit like one unit, like screening with them so that they only hit the front unit, and they're such a distance behind this combat that they're probably not going to get pursued into, or preferentially redirecting somebody into a different direction by holding. So by putting your unit at an angle in front of theirs, such that they're unable to charge like past that model into their intended target. They hit the target that you want them to, and then either they have to sit there and reform, or they can overrun to try and get out of the arc of the unit that you want to fight them.
Yep, perfectly said. Peter, anything to add?
That's really it, man. It's all about trying to screw up your opponent so they end up at weird angles, so you can hit them with flanks or just stop them from doing what they want to do for a turn. They're the bravest models in your army because it's going to be that 20-point saber tusk that holds up 450 points of your opponent, in the worst way possible.
Yep. Perfectly said. So what kind of units do we want to look at to do these kinds of things? Usually when I think of a redirector, there's a couple of boxes I want that unit to tick. First and foremost, it's got to be cheap. Got to be cheap as chips. I want the cheapest thing I can get for the points that can do it. But to do it, that unit usually has to be fast. So it's kind of a move per point equation that my brain goes through to try and find a unit that's fit for this purpose. And you're going to hear me say that a lot, by the way. I say it a lot in 40K, and it doesn't actually matter anywhere near as much in 40K as it does in fantasy games, that concept of a unit that has to be fit for purpose. Your units in fantasy need to do the thing that they're supposed to do very well. And they need to freaking do it. They no ifs, no buts. But anyway, Falcon, any other terms and conditions that these units have to have in order to meet minimum bar to get put into a list?
I think that for me, when it comes to if I'm putting redirectors in a list, which I always will, yes, they have to be cheap. I don't want to pay. I think the maximum I want to pay for a redirecting unit is 100 points. And that's a unit that I think might kill stuff as well. I'm not opposed to paying 30 points or less for a unit that's not going to kill anything either. So that's kind of like how I gauge things. If I'm paying at least 50 or 60 points, I want it to have the chance to kill something, even if it's small, like another chaff unit. Less than that, I want it to be fast. I want it to have some kind of special rule if it can, like Vanguard or Scout, because that's where I'm going to get the most mileage out of getting early placement out of them. And while yes, some changes have been made to how skirmishers interact with charges, I still will prefer a skirmishing unit over like a closed order or open order unit if I can have it. Because if you look at the diagrams, they do still have to wheel, right? The opponent still has to wheel. Even it's harder to set up the redirects with the skirmishing unit, but it's not impossible. That's what I'll say about that. So I do want something that maneuvers better. Open order or skirmish preferred to closed order if I can get it.
Yeah. Danny?
Interesting. I feel the opposite way to Peter.
You want closed order?
I value more closed order or open order units for redirecting purposes because my opponent can't push them around like skirmishers. There are some advantages to having skirmishers for redirectors because they don't cause panic tests if they flee through other units, which is pretty valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the closed order stuff because it forces my opponent to align on the direction that I want to go.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying there, and I 100% agree. That's why I kind of said, like, you have to think harder with your skirmishing units. I happen to be blessed with my favorite army having a skirmishing unit that moves 12 inches and still gets to do all the things I want it to do, which is why it's my favorite for doing it. But, we were talking in between show about, like, it is harder and how I ended up screwing up in my last game because of the way skirmishers now work. I didn't get the angle I needed. But your opponent still has to get that initial wheel to hit the closest target.
Yep. Right.
So like they still work, just not as well as they used to.
Yep.
I've been scrolling around. I'm trying to find marching column because I had an idea that if you had a unit that was cheap enough, like this, and I'm talking like Noblars, I'm talking the cheapest damn things in the freaking game.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have them like, so what are the, because I was looking for marching column because I just had this idea then. What are the terms and conditions on marching column?
You have to be thinner than you are long, and you get to move triple, but you can't declare charges, and you don't get ranks.
How many do you have to have in your front rank?
There's none of that.
Yeah. So so you're saying I could have a marching column of a single line?
In theory,
Yeah.
Of just like 10 Noblars in a single line that move, 12 inches. That sounds good. That sounds very good to me. That sounds like a great redirect.
They can move 12 inches straight forward very effectively.
Yeah.
But any side to side movement is totally fucked.
Yeah.
I strongly suspect this idea that I've just thought about has many holes. But what I was getting at is that these are things you can also think of. Marching column is a really bad thing to try and execute on a unit that you like and want to do damage. But for a unit that you couldn't give a shit about, it's kind of perfect for getting them just that little bit of extra movement to make them feel like they're a Great Eagle or a Saber.
Great point, Adam.
Here's a way you could do it, and I think it has some legitimacy at the very least. You get something that's like a movement speed of 6, I would say, at the minimum. You do what you're describing. You move up 18 inches. If your opponent doesn't just hit that unit and destroy it, like if you manage to work it properly, on your next turn, then you do a 90-degree turn. Which is a maneuver you're allowed to do, which every model in the unit now moves 90 degrees, and they use half their movement to do it. And then you can at least make a 3-inch wheel with the remaining movement. Now you've got a pretty cute little angled thing that's moved, triple its movement at least once. Yep. It's an option. I don't know if it's great, but like that's where your math can come in and you can create these scenarios. Yeah.
Well, so I'm just waiting, and this is one of our hot community topics. If we get to it, is GT packs and its mission packs, new mission packs coming out. And I think there is even somebody on this show who may or may not be designing a mission pack as we speak. But I would like to see missions that have more incentives to them than just killing. Mm-hmm. And I remember a lot of the mission packs at the end of 8th edition, they were, you had to have fortitude or banners in table quarters, and and all your opposed deployments at the end of the game. And so a lot of people were taking 10 Noblars, 10 nonsense units with a banner. And they were looking for ones with modality. Oh, cool. Did they have a shooting attack as well? Did they have an ability to pop a flank and not just explode if they needed to, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm of the opinion these units are going to come back into vogue, and if they do, I want them to have the ability to go and redirect as well. And I think the marching column opens that up.
Adam, that's a great point. I'm thinking about this now, and like I like 10 by 1 by 10 is like cumbersome, right? But 3 by 3 with one unit hanging over is basically 100%. The same wheel, like for the 100%. Back guys. So I like a little dart like that. I think is really great.
Dude, exactly right. The thing I was thinking of was the rat darts. That's where this all started. The rat darts, because that was a dual modal unit because it could hunt war machines. Sure. It could pressure solo casters and things like that, and it was a phenomenal speed redirector for no points. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking to see if those things are going to come back in. All right, but I think we've done redirecting some justice, and hopefully you have gotten your money's worth there. Get cracking. Josh Secondus has asked, how much shooting should a list have as a rule of thumb? And barring hard skew lists, can an army get away with having no shooting at all? Danny, we'll start with you.
Yes, armies can absolutely get away with having no shooting. I think you want some shooting just so you have some interaction in that phase, because you're giving up like a significant way for you to deal with combat redirectors, kind of like we talked about in the episode itself.
Agree. Peter, what do you think?
I mostly agree. I do think that you want shooting if you can have it. That said, there are a couple of armies that are built just fine to not bother. Warriors of Chaos being like a prime example. They've got a lot of like ways to get some kind of cheap redirect killers or chaff killers. Demons are another army that they do have some great shooting units, by the way. So like flamers are absolutely incredible. But they can also just take furies and destroy your opponent's chaff while having a really awesome like redirector and chaff unit of its own. So there are a few army examples where you really don't need them, but having 15 or 20 guys with a decent range that can pick up 5 giant rats or something if you need them to is really nice to have in the game, even if you're not going the full kind of skew route.
Yeah. So we in editions gone by, there was always a lot of chatter about the chaff battle. The mini games that would happen within the great game of Warhammer Fantasy that we used to love and play. Of course, there was the chaff battle. Which was encompassed. If I get to use my chaff to stop your big units getting into where they want to be, but I stop yours from doing the same to me, I've won the chaff battle. As in, like, I've exerted control over your movement and your decisions, but you're not able to do the same to me. And so I always want to have, and this is just my rule of thumb, I always want to have enough shooting to fight the chaff battle. I don't want to ever rock up and it just be a foregone conclusion that I've lost. My stuff's going to have to wade through their nonsense while they get perfect positioning, perfect angles, and they get all the charges. And getting the charge is so much more important now than it was before. Yeah. Getting the charge is everything in some matchups. So you always want to have enough shooting to win the chaff battle. Is where I'll be starting and I'll be working from. And that means, like, that could be as simple as just like, okay, here's like 2 units of dwarf rangers and a ruby ring. That could be it. That could be the minimum you need in order to fight that battle in your meta. But it's going to be very different for a lot of different armies. Do you think the chaff battle still holds weight in the old world? Do you think it's still something worth fighting? Yeah. And yes. I think it's more important now than it was before.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think chaff battle is extremely important right now. And you just got to figure out how your army does it best.
What are the hard skew shooting armies that we've seen so far? So we've seen Wood Elves, of course. Dwarves are just kind of by the by, just can always just pull that lever. Any other armies you guys have seen that are looking like they could be like a dominant or predominant shooting archetype?
I mean, if you don't have limits, even if you do have limits, you can do it. But like Lizardman Skink armies are crazy because of just the sheer amount of models you can field for very low points, and it's all poison, baby.
You'll make me sick.
But 12-inch range, so like there are limits, and it's I was saying in the Discord, it's also an army that hurts your back and makes your brain work. So like, got to keep that in mind too. The positioning is so important. In like all aspects of the old world, that running a swarm like that really can hurt your brain over the course of 3 hours. Yeah. Danny was saying earlier, high elves might have it in them. I think that's true.
I think you can do some dark elf stuff. That's kind of interesting just with pure volume. But like, you have to combine that with hexes. Like to make it work, because the repeater crossbow has such garbage strength.
I think that's true with almost all of the shooting skews. You need some kind of like Plague of Rust or Word of Pain or some combination to like really make shooting stick home, with the exception of some artillery spam if you're not playing with much terrain, like Dwarves and Empire.
Shoot.
Yeah, Tomb Kings can definitely shoot.
Do you guys find it funny? Like, of course, there's so much suspension of disbelief that has to occur for our great game. But I always found it funny that like a crossbow or a gun is strength 3, and like me,
crossbows are strength 4 now, baby.
Yeah, I know, but still, like, when I get shot by a gun, it's a better than 2/3 chance it's going to hurt me, I think.
Which happens regularly. I get shot by guns all the time.
I love it. Like, you got people with a bow and arrow. And you're like, man, I'm not going to worry about that. It's only a 1/3 chance that thing's going to hurt. as the arrow that goes through the air towards me, it's only 1/3 chance. I'll be fine. It'll bounce off. It's just so good to me. Anyway, next topic. Val, number 1 ticket holder, Val Heffelfinger, has asked, hey, fellas, ever since the first almanac on combat, I've wondered whether this would indeed be a thing. Linehammer. The good Dr. Blacksil is hyperbolic at the best of days, but suspects that you guys have been playing a lot and wonder what your opinions are. So that's referring to the lovely Dr. Blacksil's Old World channel, doing some beautiful content over there. Go check it out. But yeah, was very hyperbolic on Linehammer ruining the game, possibly. Danny, what is Linehammer?
It's where you set your units up like one wide, so that it's more points effective on units that only have one attack, because as long as the front rank is engaged, every model can swing with one attack.
Yeah. So that is they're working on the rule that because the whole front rank gets to attack and step up isn't a thing, why bother having ranks? Why not just get the most attacks possible by having an infinite front rank? Is that correct, Peter?
Roughly, yeah. That's kind of where people are going, and you've seen it a lot in like Facebook and Reddit groups. Like, oh, I'm just going to take a unit that's 120 wide of whatever potatoes, and that's my list, and you can't deal with it. And here's all the math. And they tend to just kind of ignore the fact that they're playing against another person and not like I don't know, like a blind naked mole rat or something. That might be able to play around that rule. They
live under the table, Peter.
They live under the table. They burrow through the plastic every day.
So straight up, if I knew that an individual was a bit of a twat, and I didn't like them that much, and I wasn't open to having a discourse, and lots of other things. But if we rocked up to a table for a casual game, and they just like we were deploying our armies, and we're just like ranking up our guys, and I saw him just like starting to make gigantic lines of models, I would very slowly start putting my models away, and then when he's done, I would walk away from the table. I would just leave. But yeah, I don't think this is a thing. I genuinely don't think it's a thing. Firstly, it's not a very fun way to play the game for anyone involved. It's extremely cumbersome and extremely punitive. And if someone is pulling this stuff on you, you should make them be held very, very tight to the very restrictive and very punitive movement rules that we are strapped to. Because it's going to be so much more of a headache for them to try and execute that than it is for you. They're not going to have a good time either. It's such a pain in the ass to use that unit. But people are saying that this is actually a thing. Is it?
So I have a lot of thoughts, and I almost answered in the Discord before I realized this was supposed to be a show question, and I had written like a whole book.
All right, well, feel free to start reading your book.
I'm interested to hear what you have to say, Peter.
Me too.
Okay. So, first off, I don't think this is necessarily a bad or stupid idea all the time. Even if you want to go from a fluff perspective, there have been many times in history where armies have just been like, I'm not going to bother being in a column. I'm just going to array like 100 guys on top of this hilltop, and we're going to shoot you to death all in a line. So it is a thing that has happened. It is a legitimate strategy. It's just not going to work all the time, and you need to consider that. And also, like, you as a player should understand like this might happen to you, and there are a myriad of ways to play around it. I think the first thing that should be brought up is like there's a lot of units in this game that really want you to be as wide as possible. Like, and I not like as the player that's making them wide. Like if I'm running Minotaurs, or if I'm running like a lot of like close combat skirmishing units, like demons have, for example. I brought up Furies recently, which is a close combat skirmishing unit that can do very well. Or even like units I wouldn't personally take right now, but I wouldn't if this became a thing, like Razor Dons and stuff. Like they want that unless you're going to take up the full width of the board. If I have a way to just move beside you and get a flank with a unit that can do 3 or 4 wounds to you, which is all I'm going to need to do for combat res perspective. Yeah. Like I can hold that whole unit because there is no combat reform in the game for as long as I want.
And also consider what happens if you are the width of the board and someone does get into your flank. And you fall back in good order off the table because you're so freaking long you can't avoid it.
Yep. Like
that's a GG.
So that's a huge thing. Terrain is big, and it is something that was kind of brought up by one of our patrons and that's a whole other conversation we've already had. Like if you have forests or ways to block line of sight, hills. So if that's a shooting unit that's decided to go whatever, 50, 60 wide, 100 wide, they're also in trouble. Also, there's not a lot of units that can go 50 or 60 wide that are going to do anything with a shooting phase because you can only pick out one target. You can't split your fire. Yeah. So, there's all that. Charges, because you have to wheel, all of a sudden a ton of your charges are going to be just negated. Impossible. You're just not going to be able to do them. That said, there are going to be some armies you're going to run up against. And like, if this is a tournament format, you may decide, yes, I want to run this unit of whatever Black Orcs 20 wide or 30 wide because they don't have those answers. Or I have ways to mitigate them. And then it's going to be advantageous to me to just sit on the line and say, come and get me. And you're going to have to deal with these however many, 40 attacks, no matter what you do, right? I think Val also asked what he thought, what I thought, or we thought the like an ideal or the biggest width you should probably go to be effective. I think 10 is now kind of the maximum, like it used to be, and that was always a thing where hordes of 10 wide. It's still, because there's no free wheel on the charge, really ungainly. Yeah. But there are going to be circumstances where, yes, you just want the 10 because you're outmatched in the combat phase and you want to get a few attacks in, as an example. Yeah, I think that's kind of where my thoughts are. It's a legitimate strategy. It's not a great strategy. There are going to be times where you want to do it. If you're a player and you're making lists, make sure you have an answer for that. Or that you can do it yourself.
I do think you are correct that it is a skill you can execute in the right circumstance. It just being a thing that's going to end the game is going to make the game unfun is just not. If it ever became that, there is just very small, very easy meta adjustments that can be executed to stop it. I've never considered anything more chaffable in the game. Right. You want to be 30 wide? Well, I'm going to just add, 6 single saber tusks.
Yep.
3 single saber tusks. 6 if it's core, and cool. That unit never does anything the entire game. And I kill 2 other things in your army and I win. And congratulations. We all felt stupid. That kind of stuff.
There's so many ways to stop this from working, right? Okay, if you have Crystal Column in your list, you can just deploy it so that you're outside of their wizard range for dispelling and being able to stop it, and then just being like, correct. No, this is in front of your unit now. Have fun. I'm not going to deal with that. Alternatively, if you're playing a very aggressive army, you can literally charge your entire army into this unit, and if they're lined up like a bunch of lines, like they think that combat's going to go good, you can literally just keep smashing into their lines, keep counting as charging if you're just winning combats and breaking them, which you should if it's your whole army fighting one unit. I mean, then they lose. Going to be insane. I think it's so bad on so many levels.
They lose all the benefits then. Yeah, if you hit them with 3 or 4 units and they're not fighting that whole stupidly super front rank into one unit and overwhelming you with because the whole idea is that cool. I charge you with a conventional unit that's like 7 or 8 wide, and cool. Maybe it has 2 attacks each, and with a champion, 15 attacks. Congrats. They have a unit that's 20 wide. And so they got 40 attacks back. So, the sheer number dump is what they're trying to do. They're just trying to overwhelm you with the amount of dice they throw against you. But that's 4 or 5 units. They have to split that up. That all gets split up 4 or 5 times, right? They can only fight with their... How does that work, boys? Peter?
I have no idea what you just said.
Multi-charge. So they got one line of 30 things, and I've charged 4 things into it. The stuff that's in base with the 4 units has to fight what they're in base with, right?
Yeah. If you can, you have to. Yes.
Just chop it all up. Cool. Doesn't mean anything. All my units are closed order. So all the combat res you got extra, I've got 4 units of closed order and I got plus 4 combat res as well. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, now I've got ranks. Now I have unit strength to actually break you when you don't pass your leadership test.
There's so many holes in this thing. But once again, like Peter, you actually came around. I can see times when it can be executed as a tactic that isn't stupid. But it's never going to be. It's never going to be a dominant archetype. It's never going to be the dominant way to play the game.
For sure. Yeah. But at the same time, especially where the game is so new, there are people that are just going to do this, right? And so you should have an answer. You should be able to look at your army list and say, okay, so if the guy does this, if I run a unit of 10 Furies or 10 Gutter Runners or something with dual hand weapons, and then something else if they happen to have shooting, so they have to target that first. Turn 2, I'll be on their flank. I'll get the charge and GG or what have you, right? Yeah. Or I have flying units and I just fly over their heads and hit the unit behind them because I can do that too. Just have thoughts in your head for how you're going to play into that. Understanding that, yes, they're especially early in this game as we try to figure out what works.
Some dumbness is going
to do this, and they're going to do other crazy ass shit. And sometimes it's going to work, and you're just be like, "Wow, okay."
That was the other hole I thought of was just fly. It's just like, cool. Yeah. I have here's 3 decent units with fly. It's 3 Insipeg Knights. or Toons, a Peg Knights, and a guy and a Griffin, or whatever, the Hippogriff, whatever. I'm just going to fly over your shit. It's whatever. See ya. Well done. You played yourself. Yeah, it's very a lot of holes. All right, Pacific cover saves. I was wondering if you guys, gents, could talk about how to structure your width/depth, and I like this because it built on the other one, of units. Do you find there is a sweet spot of sorts? I do find conceptually so far there is a sweet spot, especially with the armies that I play, that I usually, so ogres, just because there's no real point taking enough ogres to get like 2 ranks. So why bother getting ranks? So I'd rather just take MMU ogres. Like I'd rather just take medium units, apart from possibly a Gutstar, which unfortunately is still very good. I want to just take like 4 single units of 4 or 5, and just have them 4 or 5 wide. And that's
just for the folks at home that don't know what you're talking about, what's a Gutstar?
A Gutstar is a unit of Iron Guts with a hellacious amount of points spent on it. It's usually 7 or 8 Iron Guts with 2 to 3 characters: Tyrant, Slaughtermaster, Firebelly, or BSB, or whatever, chucked in there, and then it just makes an absolute terror Death Star unit that can just usually handle most armies by itself. That's a Gutstar, which unfortunately is still very good. I'm going to start building, now that I know how good it is, I'm going to start building lists without it, because I don't want to play it. I've played that thing. I played that thing in pretty much every one of my armies for, already other previous editions. I'd hate to spend another couple of years of this edition of this game playing the same thing, because that just seems boring to me. But a small man-eater units. I'm coming around to single units of 4 man-eaters, just four guys in a line. They're really terrifying, especially when I'm thinking of taking them with Vanguard and great weapons. So on the charge, they just like strength 7, absolutely effing mulligan people into the goddamn dirt. I like the idea of that unit. Also Mournfang with great weapons that I'm starting to come around to as well. Yeah. But when the charge, that's just coming from a loss of philosophy. When the charge is like with ogres, the only thing that matters, and engineering charges, like why not just have great weapons? Yes, whatever. But going into this question, for your respective armies, gentlemen, have you found sweet spots for length and or width and or depth? Doodles.
I don't like units that are more than like 250 millimeters wide is about the max that I would ever want to take a unit, which is 10 wide, 25 millimeter bases. I don't think I would take 10 wide, 30 millimeter bases ever, because it's too much. And the unit has, if I'm going to take a wide unit like that, especially if it's a combat unit, I want to make sure that it actually can fight. Shooting units, generally speaking, I'm either taking, if I'm taking a unit of 10, I'm going to put them 1 wide, unless I can find a hill to put them on. And I actually value oftentimes them on a hill more than a war machine, but it depends on what's in the rest of my army.
Yeah.
So, because the war machine can shoot 360 anyway, that doesn't matter for it. Yeah, I think that's about the summation of it. If you're going to fight, you want to be wide. If you're there for rank bonus and that kind of stuff for combat res, then you want to be deep as you can be.
Yeah.
So like, I like first, like a unit size, it's like 24 or 25 is the most versatile.
Yeah.
Because you can be 5x5, you can be 6x4, you can be 8x3. Like, so it really kind of lets you play around with those depending on how you want that unit to function.
Peter, what about your armies?
I'm basically in full agreement with Danny. So with Lizardmen, I've been running my Saurus and my Temple Guard generally either 6 or 7 wide. And that has kind of felt like the ideal. Like if I'm running 14 guys, I'll do two ranks of 7. Yeah. Otherwise, I'll be doing 2 ranks of 6 and then a handful of dudes in the back. I have tried running bigger blocks, which are fine going, but I don't go wider than that. I'll go as deep as 4, 6x4. Like I feel like that's at most of my lists. Like when I make a like a big block for any army, because I've been fiddling with so many, 24 is kind of the magic number I've gotten at. 30 if they're like extraordinarily cheap and basically naked. Like if I'm running, after my game against Empire, I've been playing around with Empire lists to try and see if there's a combat res mechanic I like, and so I'll go like 30 deep on state troops, like not deep, 30 big. 30 size, but that's about the extent of it. Because I don't want those units to cost more than like 300 points, and I get really nervous and faint, and I want to go lay down. Like if that's the kind of thing I want, like I'll look at it without characters, and I'll be like, no, can't do it. Gotta go have a break. I've got a case of the vapors, and that's where I'm at right now, at least in list building. So
fantastic. All right. On that note, I think we will move over to our main operation for today, which is designing a list for Dickie. What are the parameters he's laid upon us? He wants exiles, yeah? Bretonnian exiles?
He wants Bretonnian exiles, and he wants blunderbusses. And I believe that was like the extent of it.
I think that's it. Yeah. So, of course, Kingdom of Bretonnia Exiles is one of the arcane special spicy. We would call them supplements in other games, but it's kind of just an alternative army list. What are the T's and C's here, Danny? What do we have to work with? What's the differences?
So for Bretonnian Exiles, you're not allowed to take a Duke character. And you
can't take a prophetess either, correct? Like
that's correct. Yeah. So no Lord level characters like from the Bretonnian book, other than I guess kind of the Baron is sort of like a Lord level character.
Mm-hmm. So there's no level 4 and there's no leadership 10 bubble.
There is no level 4, but you get the option. You can add in Outcast Wizard, which is a new unit entry that they have that can be up to a level 3.
Okay. Is that worth it, gents? Do we think? So just starting off the cuff, I'm going to open up my little app, Old World Builder, and I'll start piping in our points and our things and keeping us straight up. And you boys can do the majority of the buildings. All right, new army list. Let's go. Dickie's Dick.
Whoa. This is a children's podcast.
Is it? Shit.
Is it? Yeah, really?
I marked it as children. No, I did not.
Which children?
I have children.
You're gonna make them listen to this?
Make them is the operative word. Yes.
All right. So I figure we have a BSB. There's no point, not taking a BSB, right?
Especially Bretonnians get a free battle standard on one of their heroes. So
just take that.
So it's just a Baron, yeah?
I believe Paladin.
Oh, sorry, apologies. Wrong guy. They're all the same. So we're taking a Pally, BSB for free, and then we'll chuck some stuff. He may end up being the general as well later, but we'll chuck some stuff on him when we get to it. But we'll how do you guys usually do list? I go and I put in all the units I want to take, and then I go back and add in the stuffs.
Yeah, that's how I do it. I go like, here's the things I think are cool. I'll make a list. I'll look at how many points it came to, and then I'll start adjusting if I can't fit like the magic items I like or whatever.
You do it like an absolute savage, like a barbarian where you add in all the war gear and everything as you add the.
I pick core, and I pick 500 points of core that I like, and I'm like, okay, if nothing else changes in my list, at least I have this, and this satisfies the requirements that I have for the army. And then I pick the units that I like. I just like to make sure that I pick core first because then I'm not tempted by other things.
You're wild. You're a crazy man.
I'm a wild man over here.
You just
that's filthy. That makes me sick to my stomach, man. How do we feel about the special characters which are open here? So we've got the Green Knight, we've got Sir Cecile Gaston, and Lady Elise.
So I don't think you can take Lady Elise because I believe she's a prophetess.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she's off the menu unless does she have a thing?
I think she counts as a prophetess.
Yeah,
right?
she counts. Says it in her thing. She counts as a prophetess, so you can't run her. You could run Gaston.
He actually has Exile's Vow as well,
and he has the Exile's Vow, so he is allowed. And he's actually, you know what? He's kind of neat. He's very expensive, but he is. He does have Monster Slayer, which I think is very valuable.
His weapon is real good, right?
He is a Duke equivalent, isn't he? Or is he a Baron equivalent? Yeah, he's got weapon skill 7, man.
He gets +1. He gets +1 weapon skill over a normal Baron, which is really nice.
Yeah, he's got 4 attacks. He's leadership 9.
So he's 165. A normal Baron is 100, and then a Baron they get 100 points or 60 or 50 points of magic items.
I think it's 75 points of magic items.
Yeah. Okay, so he's less than a fully ticked Baron.
Yep, he's got like a pretty cool cloak that reduces the armor piercing value of attacks against him by 2.
Yep.
Which is great. He's immune to killing blow and multiple wounds, so like you do have to do 3 wounds to kill him. And he's got a 3+ ward against flaming attacks. But he's got like base just a 4-up armor save.
Yeah.
I I think
then
that
maybe eventually the blessing.
yeah, and then maybe eventually the blessing because he is Exile's Vow. So if he manages to chase down a unit, he'll get a ward save. I think the only reason why you'd want to consider him is because he has Monster Slayer. I don't think he's necessarily worth it. But
and I just realized he's on foot as well. So
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the big
Bow.
issue with him.
yeah, on foot, no thanks.
And then-
not that I think the knights on foot are bad. I just think that I don't want my general on foot.
and then the Green Knight, he's available. He's expensive,
Very expensive.
but he's kind of cute and cool. I don't think I'd play him, but he's
Nah.
cute and cool.
For 275, even though he's crazy, spicy, fun, he's just he's not 275 worth.
He'll win you games sometimes, but then he'll just lose you way more. I
Yeah.
find.
All right, are we going to take? I'm going to put this Outcast Wizard in level 3. I'm looking at the magic trees available, and there's 6.
Yes, that
Magic
could
trees
basically be anything. So
I
they're good
can't
that
see
way.
that being bad. I can't see having access to 6 magic laws being bad,
He
even
is
though
the
you're only level 3.
cheapest level 3 in the game.
Yeah, that's crazy. 105 points for level 3. I think. Can you take 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
We may
The-
end up taking 2 because I like
the-
the idea of this dude.
And there's a couple really good arcane items available to them. So
Yeah. All right. What are we doing for core, gents? We have our options: men at arms, peasant bowmen, knights of the realm, mounted knights of the realm, errant boys, yeoman guard, and mounted yeoman. So the yeoman guard are the unique to this, which is yeoman not mounted. So the unmounted yeoman.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're actually pretty good.
They are.
They're
Yeah.
not bad. Yeah.
And you have to take at least one unit of yeoman guard or peasant bowman. And I would say I would take the yeoman guard. I mean, it's peasant bowmen are fine. It's shooting. So if you're just trying to pay the tax, pay the 70 points or whatever. But
5 points per model. Light armor shield. We want halberds, polearms, or thrusting spears. I will come back to that. But do we want just 10, or we want to up it to 20 or 30?
I think if we're gonna go with this, because they have horde and they have shield wall and they have warband.
And Warband, dude.
I think
Yeah.
warband's the big thing. I think you go at
all
least
special.
24. I think you do at least the 24
Full command.
and full command, and then I think you also do you pay the 25 points for stubborn?
I don't
And the double
value
champion.
the Grail Monk, the triptych, but I do value the Grail Monk himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
So
All right.
we're gonna pay the extra 25 points for that.
100.
No,
so
I wouldn't
that's-
pay for the Blessed Triptych. That's an option
Oh,
for the
sorry.
second champion.
Sorry,
You don't have to take it.
I thought you,
Um,
in my mind, you had to pay for the triptych and the Grail Monk, but
You would think that would be the case, yes.
Only other
Just
question
run around
is, do we want hand weapons and halberds, or do we want pole arms or thrusting spears?
Polearms are the only one that isn't free, but they are also the
Correct.
most versatile.
Yeah. I think we chuck them on for now. We might take them off later if things get crunchy.
Let's go with polearms. It's 1 point per model, and it gives you
Yeah.
fighting extra ranks or halberds.
There's
basically.
6 points per model with that, and I think they're gas. They are really good. 6
Yeah.
points per model
Yeah.
unit.
Yeah, I think
With
it's
all-
great.
just all the special rules.
Yeah,
Just all-
veteran is awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they
really
reroll
good.
leadership tests. They're going to be leadership 9, as long as they maintain 3 extra ranks. I like them. I like them a lot.
Yeah.
For how cheap they are.
Okay, so now let's chuck some knights in, and then we'll circle back and see how many points of peasant bowman we have to get to our 25%. But do we want any knights on foot, or we want knights of the realm mounted,
I think
or knights errant? Sorry.
I think Dickie really loves knights on foot for some
Yep.
reason.
Yep.
I always like them on a mount because I always want to be fast. So
I like Demonology Outcast Wizard with Knights on Foot.
yes, because then they'll actually do stuff. Yeah, and they have Furious Charge, so they're going to
They
do
do.
stuff regardless.
They're actually,
Um,
and they're better. They always surprise me with I'm like, oh, this unit is better than I thought they would be every time I read their entry.
How
Yeah.
big a squad do you think, Danny?
For these guys, I think I like 20.
I was going to say somewhere
the
between
character
15 and
joins
20,
them
right?
to 21, so they can be 7 wide.
So 20. I've got full command in here. Hand weapons, shields, hand weapons, great weapons, or hand weapons, great weapons, and shields. I think we're going all the way, right?
The whole package.
yeah,
Yeah.
do everything.
Yeah.
Give us options.
They're
We
worth
want
it.
to, especially
Only-
if we're going to go with 20. Like I would rather, if this was a small unit, maybe make them more specialized. But
There's only 53 points we need to add in here to get this up to minimum, but we don't have any mounted knights. So I think we add one, either Knights Errant or Knights of the Realm mounted, and then we move on. So which one do you think, boys?
Well, Knights Errant have Impetuous, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do.
That always
So-
makes me hate them.
Knights of the
Even
Realm.
if they're cheap. They're cheap as
Yeah.
shit. Like they're so cheap, but fucking Impetuous is
Well-
a fucking bullshit thing, and we don't have any like skirmishers or scouts yet to block it off for a turn. So I feel
Well,
we should
yeah.
go with
We'll get to the squires and special for sure. I
Yeah,
really
I
like
think
them.
we'll-
Mounted
yeah.
Yeoman is core is good though. That might not be a bad core choice.
Mounted
Yeah, no.
Yeomen are interesting. They have like, it's just, are we going to pay for the
It's
the
not paying
armor?
for anything on those guys. Maybe bows or something.
So
or
what,
spears.
Well, they come with bows, right? They come with short
No.
bows.
Well, yeah. What am I? Well, I'm not paying for them to live.
So
just
you
want
want
them
10,
taken?
just slapping in 5 mounted yeomen?
Yeah,
65
65 points.
Yeah, I think they're good. All right, into special. We got Peg Knights, Squires, and Battle Pilgrims. I think Peg Knights are absolutely busted at the moment.
I think you
it's
need
so
2
freaking
units
strong.
of Peg Knights.
Yeah. 2x3 or you want 2x4? I kind of like 4s.
I like 4s.
Yeah.
We can cut them down to 3s if we're finding that we're doing point
Hard
problems.
up the points. Any command?
but,
I usually don't like taking the Sarge in this unit. I don't mind taking the Banner and the Musician.
Yeah.
I like the musician 100%. 100%.
I mean,
on
if
the
you're going to
musician.
take 4, I would take a banner because you're already spending
Yeah.
a ton of points
Yeah,
on them.
yeah. Let's
I
do it.
agree.
The only reason
So-
why I would take a champion is if we take if we have to take a character on a peg, which we might.
Oh,
I was
We can
about
come
to
back
say,
to that.
I agree with
we have 2 characters that need homes. The Outcast Wizard, of course, is going with the Knights of the Realm on foot, but the Paladin BSB on the Warhorse needs a home. Heading into rare, do we want double trebs? I think double trebs.
I think we do double trebs, 1 bombard, and then 2 units of 12 brigands because he wants brigands with the.
He does. Yeah. So 2 units of trebs, 1 bombard, and you want 2 units of brigs.
Yeah. Now,
Oh,
some people will be like, this is more than 500 points.
Yeah.
This army comp allows for 33% of your army to be rare.
rare.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay, these border printed brigands, how big a squads are we talking?
12s.
I was 12s.
Yep, full command.
I don't think so. I think you
Does
just
the champion give leadership?
the champion does give leadership. Yes.
Do they get to borrow leadership from people?
They
Let me check.
Yes.
Horde, Impetuous, Levies, Motley Crew, Open Order, Warband.
They're
Like I-
not peasantry though, so they don't get to borrow the leadership.
no,
Yeah.
but I like them just running them as like scouts.
Yeah.
So pay the
Yep.
point for scouts and skirmishing for
Yes.
free, and then just run.
Yes. And Open Order. So I play Open Order Special Skirmishing. Yep, cool.
Yeah.
And
So they
then
end up being like
all
9
blunder,
points a model.
all blunderbusses, yeah?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So we go on standard musician, no desperado.
I think you do take the desperado.
Yeah, you need the leadership.
All right, so we take full command or just
Oh, I would just take the champion. I
yeah,
wouldn't.
easy.
I would, you know what? I would take the musician just for the
Oh,
+1 leadership on
Yeah,
the
okay,
fleet.
that's reasonable.
Yeah,
I
because they're
don't-
going to flee. They're going to flee from charges quite a lot, right?
Yeah, and I mean they're
Yeah.
just gonna flee from all sorts of bullshit.
Yeah, from everything.
I don't know.
Do we
man.
want?
If you that stand and shoot on those blunderbusses is nasty.
It is.
Yeah. Do we want shields?
Do we want them to have a 5-up or a 6-up?
I don't think it matters. I don't think it's going to save them for 1 point per model, but we can have them if you think Dickie will like it. 120 points though right now seems quite nice.
Yeah.
That's 12 with the champion musician and all blunderbusses with
Yep.
with scouts paid for.
That's
I could keep it
enough that I
120.
don't care when they die that much.
Yeah, exactly right. Any more than that, and you're like, damn, do I have to care about this unit?
I get the vapors again. Yep.
Shit. So, all right, we have 17 and 1 point spent. So we have 299 left. We got a paladin with nothing. He's just a BSB. Outcast wizard level 3. 24 yeoman guard, full command with pole arms. 20 knights of the realm on foot with hand weapon, great weapon. Sorry, shields, full command. 5 mounted yeomen. 2x4 peg knights. 2 trebuchets. 1 bombard. 2x12 border prince brigands. I feel like we're needing we need like. Do we need knights? This list has
That's what
one
I'm.
mounted unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of knights are we gonna take here?
So what are our options? Because we only have 120 points of rare left. So
We can take questing knights, or we can take.
we would have to drop something to take questing knights. They start at
There are
130
too many
points.
even for 5.
Yeah.
Do we take those bullshit errantry knights?
Just take Knights of the Realm.
Just take Knights of the
I think
Realm,
we just take 5 Knights of the Realm.
I was going to say we make one larger unit if you wanted, or 2x5 even. We have enough for 2x5, and then we put war gear and magic items on our wizard and whatnot. But open to options. 5 of them with full command. We still have 158 points left.
Oh yeah,
we could take another level 3. Which I kind of wanna.
I feel like, I mean, I do like that, but I also feel like we're not spending. We haven't spent anything on magic items, and because he's a level 3, I do want at least some kind of defensive magic item.
All right. What do we want? Let's do magic items on this guy. Flying carpet. Let's go.
So the
those are not good. I looked at the basic Bretonian ones. I didn't like those ones.
Like Heart of the Wilds is +1 to cast if you're in a piece of terrain, which is cool.
I don't mind that, because then that means being a level 3 doesn't matter.
Wait, what about the Flame Strike wand?
I was just thinking about that. Just to get a 4th spell at level 3. Cast Fireball every turn.
That's only once per game.
Oh, is it once per game? Then no, I don't want that.
Yuck.
I want I would even be open to just a Dispel Scroll. Like, don't they have something that's like a +1 to Dispel? I feel like we should be doing something like that.
So Silver Mirror.
That's a one you say.
Oh, Prayer Icon of Quinnell's is pretty good. It's 25 points.
The Prayer Icon of Jonathan Quinnell?
Yeah,
Jonathan Quinnell has a prayer icon.
If he doesn't take this in every Bretonian list he's playing, and he's playing an army from Quinnell's.
I do like that. It's 25 points, +1 to Dispel hexes, which are the things you're going to try to dispel anyway. And +3 inch range.
His dispel range outside of the enemy dispel range.
So yeah, take it. The Prayer Icon of Jonathan Quinnell.
Jonathan Quinnell's very own prayer icon.
Is it Jonathan, Danny? Is it Jonathan, or is it just John, or is it Jarnardorn?
Mate, if he's going to be a Bretonian, it's Jonathan as hell, right? Even if it's not.
It's Jonathan. It's Jonathan.
Jonathan.
For those who do not know, John Quinnell is the co-host of Grim After Dark with Danny, one of Danny's other shows.
Yeah,
is an absolute savage. I love him. Anything else we want for magic items on this guy, or is that it? He's done.
Do you take the 5-up ward on him? I don't know.
I was going to say, are we taking the 5-up ward, right?
Yeah.
Which one is the 5-up ward? Talisman of Protection.
Yeah, Talisman of Protection is the one. 30 points.
Done. All right, he's good. Paladin.
How many points do we have left?
We have 103.
Actually, yeah. Maybe we can put some more chaff in this too.
I was about to say so. Yeah.
So the Frontier Axe is really good for its points.
And we got this guy just on a warhorse, yeah?
Right now we do. We could change that up.
Yep.
I also like the Heartwood Lance from the main book for like a one-shot, try to stab something.
Yep.
Do we want to vow?
Yeah, do we want to vow?
What was the weapon? Was the what axe?
The Frontier Axe. It's 30 points for strength +2, AP 3, multi wounds 2, but no always strike last. So it's like a better than great weapon in all respects.
Yep. Well, this guy is our BSB and our general. Can you general be a BSB?
No.
Yeah. So this we need. So the Outcast Wizard is our general. So
what's the leadership on an Outcast Wizard? It's only 7. I think we need to consider dropping stuff to get a Baron.
Get a Baron. I was about to say,
or a second Paladin. Yeah. But we'll come back to that.
So let's keep this BSB cheap and cheerful, and just make him a little bit durable. Like, we'll just give him best armor save he can have. Shield, heavy armor, and we'll just chuck him with a lance for now, and we'll come back to him.
Yeah,
because 100% we cannot be running around with a leadership 7 army.
Yep.
But hey, this is Dickie's army. Let's. So we are 3 points over as it sits right now. So I'm just going to run down the picks now in case we want to drop something. our core consists. Sorry. We got the Paladin BSB. I've just added a Baron on foot. Outcast Wizard. He's fully ticked up, level 3. 24 Yeoman Guard. 20 Knights of the Realm. 5 Mounted Yeomen. 5 Mounted Knights of the Realm. 2x4 Peg Knights. 2 Trebuchets. 1 Bombard, and 2x12 Border Prince Brigands.
So I think if I'd cut anything, I'd consider cutting the Bombard. And maybe dropping the foot knights by a few guys if we need extra points after that.
Yep. Do the Yeoman Guard need to be 24? I would rather drop them by a couple than drop the Knights of the Realm.
Yeah, we could
by
do.
a couple.
I mean, they could be 20. I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I think you could do 5x4.
Yeah, I'm just going to
or drop the pole arms for.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
spears. I think spears are better than halberds.
thrusting spears. Done. All right, that saved us 41 points. Just doing that. That's nice. And that'll give us enough to deck out our Baron a little bit at least. He'll get him on a horse. Returning warhorse, unless we want him on a peg or a hippo.
I do like him on a Pegasus. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
But he's probably just better on a horse. Right now we have the wizard on a horse.
No, wizard's on foot.
Wizard's on foot.
He's going to go hang with the Knights.
Paladin?
Wizard's going with the Knights on foot.
Yeah.
The wizard, and the Paladin is on a horse, and so the Baron on a horse, and they can both join the mounted Knights of the Realm.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Which I wouldn't be unhappy getting that mounted Knights of the Realm unit up a couple of guys, because right now it's only 5. I'd like to get it to about 8 if we can. So then the 2 characters make it a 10.
I think that's good. I like that. That'll give them they'll only have 1 rank bonus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless. I think it's fine. Because I think
you think it's fine with just 5?
Plus the Baron and the Paladin. Maybe you add like 2 more dudes.
So we'll go to 7 for now. Are we dropping the Bombard? Or do we want to drop one of the Peg Knights? Do we have a 3 and a 4? Like a big and a small?
I think I'd prefer dropping the Bombard.
Me too.
Either the Bombard or one of the Trebuchets. Either one. Like they're the same points.
How spicy does he want to be? Because the Trebs are better, but if he wants to experiment with the new shit, 1 Treb, 1 bomb feels all right.
And that's fine. And the thing about the Bombard, if you only have 1, you will sometimes just get angles, right? And rip up a monster. So
all right. So 1 Treb, 1 Bombard. That gives us 100 points. I have put the mounted Knights of the Realm up to a 7-man, which we'll keep at right now. And they've got full command, which they should. So that gives us some points for the Baron. So Baron right now he has just heavy armor on a warhorse. We can totally chuck a shield on him. He can is he going to take a vow, you reckon?
Yeah, there's some really good vows. We should probably
there's some excellent vows. Yeah.
Investing in a vow.
All right.
All right. So what do we see him for? Like, what's his purpose? Is he just there to add some extra combat res for the knight unit?
And be your general?
Or are we going to try and protect him? The disadvantage for being in lance formation is you always count as being in base to base with the enemy unit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So you can pick out characters very easily in lance formation.
So he needs to be durable, right?
I feel like that's the way to go.
Okay. So magic items wise, right now he's already sitting on a 3-up save. Heavy armor, shield, barded warhorse is a 3-up.
Yep.
How many points do we have?
We have 75.
Oh, okay.
So there is nothing on the Paladin right now. Also, so
maybe take the Gromrel Great Helm on him, so he has 2-up rerollable.
Yep,
armor save.
Yep, I like that idea. Where are we at here? Gromrel Great Helm done. Any killingness we want to add?
Well, we have 35 points left we can spend. So we have some options if we want to just do him.
Oh, I'd do him. Because he doesn't need any ward save, right? Because they're going to have the other way. These guys don't get the.
They don't get it unless they kill something, but he'll kill something.
He'll kill something for sure. Does he need, the lance? Does he want the axe? Because we currently have that axe on. Let me just check. We have that axe on the Paladin.
Oh, we should give it to the Baron then, I think.
Oh no, I didn't put it on him. Fine, but yeah, we can give that axe to the Baron.
I was
thinking two-handed.
The banner of the Zealous Knight.
Mm-hmm.
on
Get that.
the night guy on either of the night units, the one on foot or that gives them Vanguard.
Oh yeah, I like that.
It's really good.
It is very good. Let's stick with this Baron. Let's get this Baron finished, and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just debating if he gets a weapon or not.
A weapon or a vow, right?
Yeah. So it's either So
20 points he can take joust and reroll wound rolls on his lance,
yeah,
which is a pretty good combat multiplier on him. Do we need magic attacks though?
Something needs magic attacks, right?
Yeah.
So wait, he's playing this list into Val, isn't he?
I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay. So we have to win. This is us versus square based. We have to win, boys.
I'm so conflicted.
I don't know. Seriously.
Val asked me for a vampire list today, and I sent him one, and he was like, "I can't make lists. My brain doesn't work properly." So I think we're okay.
Okay, we're good.
That said, Dickie lost like 4 paladins to a mangler squig of all things, or Pegasus or something. I don't know. He lost something to mangler squigs, which is impossible. So
let's finish this. Let's finish this up. Is this guy getting a vow and a lance, or is he
virtue
getting
or a lance? A virtue and a lance, or are we giving him a magic item?
Yep. Lucky Heirloom is also exiles only. That's a pretty good magic item. It's once per round. You can reroll a hit roll to wound, armor save, or ward save.
So he's already re-rolling armor saves.
Oh, yep. From the Grommel Great Helm?
He's got a 2-up rollable.
Nice. Okay. You reroll ones.
Yeah, just ones.
Oh, yeah.
But still, it gets him to a 2-up, and
he will kill something and have his...
Oh, yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
So, questing vow or grail vow?
He can't take a grail vow, so he has to be exile or questing.
Yep. This didn't give him the option for the... Knightly Virtues. There we go.
Or I guess knightly vow.
Yeah. Which did we want here? Did we want any of these knightly virtues? Joust, I think, was thrown out there.
Yeah, I think it's just a question of do we want magical attacks? So
if he's playing against vamps, 100% he needs some magical.
I think he's playing against orcs and goblins is the thing.
Okay. So. Yeah.
I think the vamps he was making a list for a friend.
So. Okay, never mind then. Let's just go joust. So what are we going for points? We have 11 points left in this list. Right now, that Baron has a lance, heavy armor, shield, barded warhorse, Grommel Great Helm, virtue of the joust is where he is at. Paladin is sitting here with absolutely nothing. Yes. But quickly running down the list again. Paladin, outcast wizard with all the bells and whistles. Ticked up durable Baron. 20 yeoman guard, 20 knights of the realm on foot, 5 mounted yeomen, 7 mounted knights of the realm. 4 peg knights, a trebuchet, a bombard, and 2x12 border prince brigands. Anything in there we don't like anymore? Because it sounds like we need to cut a unit to tick this out properly. Actually, do we? Or is this just kind of fine?
I think this is kind of fine. Like, it's just, do we want to make our paladin, or either the paladin or the Baron, extra cool, basically?
Yeah. I think the Baron's fine. I think the Baron's totally fine. Virtue of the Joust plus the Lance, I think, is totally cool. Actually, in saying that, I think I'd much rather put that on the Paladin and have magical attacks on the Baron.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yeah, so let me just switch that around. So I'm just going to put all I pretty much need to do is just add the Joust to the Paladin. So Paladin's just BSB with a lance, heavy armor, shield on the warhorse with virtue of the Joust. Keep him cheap and cheerful. And now the Baron needs to get a magical weapon. So he can take that axe we were talking about.
He can take the axe. It's two-handed, so he would lose his shield in close combat.
Yeah, so it negates the reason for taking the Great Helm. So he's much off better taking Giant Blade or Sword of Swiftness or Berserker.
Heartwood Lance might be.
Oh yeah.
Do you have the points for Heartwood Lance? I think Barons can only take 75 points in magic items.
Oh right.
I might be wrong.
You're right.
Where is it? Yes, you are correct. Can't get both. Grommel Great Helm is 40 points. Can we switch that around? Is there anything almost as good as? Like Iron Spike Shield. I don't know what that does. Charm Shield.
Iron Spike Shield is
Iron
like
Shield.
you deal, your opponent takes hits if
Nah, never heard of you.
They roll
like
ones to hit. Yeah.
Yeah. If they roll a 1 to hit against you, they take damage. But
What about core rulebook items?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. So Ogre Blade, Sword of Battle, Duelist Blades, Dragon Slaying Sword, Headsman's Axe, Spell
Sword
Eater
of
Axe.
Might's not bad.
Sword of Might's fine. Yeah, Sword of Might's totally acceptable. Sword of Striking is totally fine as well.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't want to take Berserker Blade. Which one's Giant Blade?
Giant Blade
strength
is +1 strength, multiple wounds 2 with Armor Bane 2. With
No,
no,
there's no AP on it. Nah, fuck that. Nah, we are not sending this guy with no AP. I'd rather take a great weapon than no AP.
Yeah.
You know what? We're not going to do it all for him. We're not doing it all for him. Dickie, this is what you're getting.
You
Write this down.
Yeah.
Get you. Well, do you know what? I'm going to do an interview with him to be added to this episode. I'll bring this list in with me to that interview,
Nice.
and then me and him can tweak it. We'll tweak it to fit his purpose.
That's
But
perfect.
anyway, that's what you get. That was us, being quite boring and writing a list together.
I mean, it
Which
kind of
one-
shows like how we go about making a list, right? So
It does. No. I'm saying it's boring as in like this is the first time we've done that together. We will get better at it and we will make it more entertaining. And as we get better at the game as well, we'll have a lot more things that we just like, okay, so that just goes in, right? That's just a good unit. That's a good build. I find it really interesting building characters right now because there's no, about a year into 8th edition, everyone knew what everyone's characters had. Everyone.
yeah, because it was kind of like these are the good things you take.
Formulaic
It's not
as
solved
fuck.
yet, right? I like
Yeah.
that part. Yeah.
I like as well. On that note, we're going to wrap up. We're going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us for this part 2. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your questions. If you have anything else you'd like us to discuss, break down, unpack on these part 2s, please feel free to load it up. We also really deeply appreciate you guys supporting us. It's just a beautiful feeling to have people in the community just willing to slap down a couple of bucks and say, hey, we like what you're doing. And we want to reward that and give you guys the best content we can. So always happy to take feedback on these part 2s. Next week's going to be on the fight phase. So any questions regarding the fight phase, of course, absolutely welcome. Gentlemen, anything you want to say before we check out?
Bye-bye.
Yep.
You've been listening to That Old World Charm with those charming chaps, Adam, Danny, and Peter the Falcon. Thanks ever so much. Cheerio.